What's up? It is Sam here, and tonight I have an awesome video for you around the Twitter rankings of the Democratic candidates that are running for president. And we wanted to track how much effort they're putting in, so we tracked the number of tweets. We also wanted to see how quickly they were growing, and that is how we're ranking them. So, with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. All right, let's get started. So we have Social Blade pulled up here. Social Blade tracks social profiles across the internet and like different social platforms. So we've pulled up each candidate's Twitter profile, and we've looked at three different things. We looked down here at the total number of tweets over the past 30 days. So this is 1,309 tweets for Andrew Yang over the last 30 days. And then what we did is we looked at the growth rate what we looked at the total growth over the growth in the absolute numbers. So 77,761 new followers for Andrew Yang over the last 30 days. Then we took a growth rate in that, because you can have somebody say like Bernie Sanders, who has 10 million followers, or somebody like Amy Klobuchar, who has substantially less. I think it's under a million. So if Amy's growing at 20%, but Joe Biden's growing at 1%, but Joe Biden gets 100,000 new followers and Amy gets 25, yes, like the growth rate's important, but like the sheer volume is also important, and that's a bigger factor for us. So we looked at the growth rate as well, and I put all that together into a spreadsheet, and we stack ranked the candidates 1 through 10 on all three of those factors, and before we took an average. And the top 5 candidates are Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, and Amy Klobuchar. Interesting, right? Amy, right? Amy is in the fucking top 5? What? I've never seen that before. I've been doing these from the beginning of September. I've never seen her rank that high before this. That was kind of surprising in any of the rankings that we do, because we also do our power rankings, which encompass like the Google search volume ranking, YouTube search volume ranking, YouTube channel ranking, Facebook, and all these other factors. And I've never seen her go that high. If you want to check out those videos, go back to the channel. So let's dive into the macro real quick and see if we can tell what's going on. So we're taking a look at this here, plus this for each one of the candidates. And we see Pete's just basically sitting there. He hasn't really moved much. What is interesting, though, is Michael Bloomberg jumped up to 7th spot from not really being... He wasn't in the ranking, and then we just added him. This is the first time to jump into 7th. And he actually knocks out Tulsi Gabbard, because Tulsi Gabbard was at 7th, and then she just gets knocked out by Michael Bloomberg, and this is his first time coming in. So does Michael Bloomberg have that extra attention just because, like, hey, I'm going to run for president, right? And then people talk about him and it's going to subside? Or is it like, hey, he's building something and it's going to continue to grow? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the next several weeks as we do more of these. Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are basically the same. Same with Elizabeth Warren as well. But interesting, since we've been doing these at the beginning of September, Andrew Yang has been number 1. And I want to get into the numbers to show you exactly why he's been number 1. So we're going to start with the number of tweets. This is the number of tweets each candidate has done over the last 30 days. And we said that whoever has the most amount of tweets is the most engaged on that platform, right? So think about it like this. If you were to go out into your neighborhood, your, say, city, town, wherever, and you were to spend time every single day, 365, introducing yourself to new business owners and walking into places and just introducing yourself to customers, and you would probably know a lot more people in that neighborhood, correct? Well, the same thing works online, but people don't always realize that. If you go interact with the community on Twitter, you get your message out to more people. So what we have here is Andrew Yang is like destroying everybody else in terms of number of interactions he's had. Like, this is just basically his the number of tweets. 1,309 tweets over the last 30 days, versus like the next closest is Elizabeth Warren at 476. So kudos there, putting in the work, and it's showing. It is definitely showing. We're going to get more into those numbers in a second, and then we're going to talk about the breakdown before we get into the Q&A. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below, and you use the hashtag Stolt, and then we can talk about it in the. I can search for hashtag Stolt in my YouTube analytics, and I can pull up your question to talk about at the end of the video. So we go into the next category here. So he's working 2.5 times harder than anybody else in terms of being in the community, knocking on doors. They're just virtual fucking doors. Next is the total number gained in subscribers over the past 30 days. And we see that Bernie Sanders is number one by he's the only candidate who has over 100,000 new subscribers or followers on Twitter out of all the candidates that are running. He also, I believe, has the largest following. So to not only be growing at the largest absolute number, meaning he gained 105,000 new followers roughly in the past 30 days. So he's grown more quickly than the other candidates, and he also has a much bigger base. So that's not exactly how it always works, right? A lot of the times you have a really small base and you're growing 5, 10, 40 times whatever rate as somebody else who's 100x your size, right? They might be growing at 5%. Right? So to have him growing at such a clip is pretty interesting for Bernie, and says that his message really is getting out to a lot of people. That's really resonating with a lot of people. Number 2 is Andrew Yang. So Andrew Yang, I think, has around 1.4 million new followers, or 1.4 million followers on Twitter. And Bernie Sanders has about, I think, 10.1 or something million, so about 10 times the size of Andrew Yang's. So 10 times the size, and he's still gaining more. But if you look at the growth rates, Andrew Yang is growing 7 times more quickly than Bernie Sanders in terms of the growth rate, because 77,000 into 1.4 million roughly is a much higher number than 105,000 into 10.1 million, right? So he's growing 7 times faster, but it's still not outpacing it's going to take a while for this to play out unless something happens with Bernie Sanders. And also, Joe Biden is actually right there on Andrew Yang's heels when it comes to the growth in his followers over the past 30 days, which is interesting. Elizabeth Warren not too far behind that. Let's see if there's anybody else. Nobody else is actually even really close. Again, with Bloomberg, similarly with Amy, something must have happened at the last debate. I did not watch it, but something must have happened because she's been gaining attention in a lot of areas. So she either really was able to, that was her moment to capture a lot of attention, and it just resonated with whatever she was saying. Because she's been gaining in a lot of areas. This is the first time I've seen her ever in any of the rankings we do, or in any state. We also do state rankings based on search volume on Google and YouTube, and I've never seen her rank that high. So that was kind of interesting to see how quickly, she's growing faster than Pete Buttigieg, which is a much more well-known name. She's growing faster than Tulsi Gabbard. She's growing faster than Michael Bloomberg. That's pretty astonishing because she's just not even a thought in most things. So to jump up and be beating those people is, right, you know what I mean? It's holy shit, what exactly happened? I don't know. Let me know down below in the comment section and use the hashtag Stolt, and then I can actually search for your comments, which we jump into now. And this is from GoGo63. What's good, GoGo63? I appreciate the comment. Regarding number of Google searches, and this is in regards to one of my Google rankings, I'm wondering if one reason Andrew Yang is showing such high searches could be, and I'm totally Yang Gang, but I'm worried about it, could be that when we make donations, we are constantly rechecking his website to see if we have reached the given goal. I know I check about 20 times per day. If everyone who is contributing is rechecking the site, which site could that be artificially inflating the number of searches? Yeah, so I think we got we're talking about two probably different ones because we ranked their website to see which candidates has the most popular website in the U.S. By the way, thank you for the awesome comment and the detail that you put into that. I appreciate that. But we have a website ranking, so that could be affecting the website ranking. But I do think it's a marginal number because to be in the top like 5,000 sites in the U.S. out of all the sites. I mean, if you have, because you got to think about, okay, so say you have several million people who donated, right? There's going to be a fucking shitload of them who are never going to go back to that site again. There's going to be another portion of people who donated and are probably barely ever going to check it again. Like maybe they'll check it one more time before the election if things continue to go along this way, right? But I think the percentage of people who are checking it, like to any degree, more than once, in a relatively short period of time, I think is very, very small. I think it's helpful, to say the least, right? We're talking about it here, and there's some number of people who hopefully probably watch this. Thumbs up if you are watching. But I don't think it's going to be that crazy. Now, in terms of the Google searches, which you had referenced, I think I don't know. You tell me where when you search, are you searching for Andrew Yang website or are you just going to yang2020.com and putting it in the URL bar at the top? Like I would think probably if there is somebody as active as you are, which is awesome and is super helpful for his campaign, I'm sure, is that you potentially might just put it into the URL if you were checking multiple times per day, or just having it loaded on a separate tab and pressing refresh and coming back to it every hour or two. You know what I mean? So it's I don't think that the searches. I think the searches is still an awesome indicator of interest because it shows like the relative interest and engagement of people. If you're willing to search for Andrew Yang 20 times a day, like that's amazing. That shows your level of commitment to what's like happening. And I think that having a gauge or a metric that or factor that allows us to capture some of that degree of like actual engagement of interest is a valuable thing to have. Personally, I thank you so much for the comment. The next comment is from Nestor Nainas. Sorry about the name there. Amy seems to have some heavy money backers. Curtis, we should be doing the donations ranking soon. When we get there, that should be interesting to see, taking some little bit of deep dive into the candidates to understand where they're getting their money and things along those lines. Corey seems to struggle with financing. I think Corey will drop. So this is in reference to the Julian Castro dropping out video where we played a little Conjecture Tuesday and thought about who might be next to drop out, Amy or Cory Booker. And this is what this comment is from Nestor is referencing, in that Amy has heavy money backers while Cory seems to be having issues with financing. So it will be interesting to see. If that is the case. I actually did a poll on Instagram. There's a link in the description if you'd like to come over and say what's good. And on the poll where it was referencing this, who do you think is going to be next to drop out? Julian Castro just dropped out. And I had 32 responses. And 81% of people thought it was going to be Cory Booker that was going to drop out next. So that's interesting. I mean, not super scientific, but at least there's at least we asked 30 people, and 32 people, and some percentage of them, a decent percentage of them, thought that it's going to be Cory Booker, as well as Nestor's comment, who I don't think is following me on Instagram, which he should be. There's a link in the description, and you should follow me on Instagram. I post there even more. Thank you so much for your time. I also actually just put a link down below for PayPal if anybody wants to support. That would be amazing. This is the first full month of working for myself. I quit my job and I'm going all in with YouTube and what I'm doing with the political research stuff here. I think that this story needs to be told more than it currently is, and we need to actually consider what's going on with the way that we've done things in the past when it comes to polling or understanding how we actually find the best candidate for president. I think we need to take a deeper look at those to understand if that actually is the best way of doing things. Is that the best process of finding the highest quality candidate? And I think we need to have that conversation. So, anyways, if you want to support that, there's a PayPal link in the description. Also, any of the supplements or other things that I talk about, there are links in the description. And I appreciate you guys. There's also Amazon affiliates. So if you have anything to purchase on Amazon and you want to support the channel, it doesn't cost you anything. But there's a link for Amazon. You just go buy what, like, don't buy shit you don't need. But like, if you buy something and you use the link, I will get some percentage of it. So last month I made 94 cents. So that was helpful. So thank you. I appreciate you guys. Have a great day.